Welcome to the Secret History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. A National Guard tank destroying moonshine stills in Newport, Kentucky on February 20th, 1922. During this time, Prohibition in the United States banned the production, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages. Colonel Leonid Brezhnev, then a member of the Red Army on the Eastern Front in 1943. In 1943, Brezhnev was serving in World War II, fighting on the front lines against German forces. An armed partisan fighter during the occupation of Yugoslavia in 1943, during World War II. The partisans were resistance members who fought Axis forces, especially Nazi and fascist troops, across regions of Yugoslavia. The remains of destruction caused by air raids in Tokyo, Japan in 1945. During World War II, Tokyo was severely hit by air raids that devastated large parts of the city. Soldiers and sailors on the deck of the USS Missouri on September 2, 1945, witnessing the signing of the Japanese surrender in Tokyo Bay. A security guard preparing to defend a Korean-owned store during the 1992 Los Angeles riots. These riots were triggered by the acquittal of police officers involved in the Rodney King case. Harold Agnew, a physicist from the Manhattan Project, holding the plutonium core of the Fat Man bomb that was prepared for deployment over Nagasaki in 1945. Wait for Me Daddy, taken by Claude P. Detloff in New Westminster, Canada on October 1, 1940. The image captures an emotional moment of a child running toward her father as he departs for World War II. Christmas in a German trench during World War I, taken in 1915. The image portrays German soldiers amidst the hardships of conflict, attempting to celebrate the holiday under adverse conditions. During World War II, a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit was imposed on United States roads, called the Victory Speed, aiming to save gasoline and rubber. During World War II in the 1940s, a campaign called Do Your Bit, Skate to Work, Save Gas encouraged people to skate to work, saving fuel to support the war effort. A migrant farm worker with his wife and 10 children in 1936. The image reflects the hardships faced by many families during the Great Depression in the United States, when farm labor was one of the few means of livelihood. On February 25, 1968, a Marine awaits on the airstrip for an outbound flight from Kho San during the Vietnam War. A welder during World War II in 1945. The worker wears protective gear while performing an essential task for the war effort, possibly repairing or fabricating components for vehicles or ships. President John F. Kennedy, his wife Jacqueline Kennedy, and Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson in Kennedy's secretary Evelyn Lincoln's office, watching the live broadcast of the United States' first crewed spaceflight on May 5, 1961. Johnny Cash during his iconic performance at Folsom Prison in 1968. This show was a historic moment in Cash's career, reflecting his deep commitment to prisoner rights and social issues. Winston Churchill posing with a Thompson submachine gun in July 1940. At that time, Britain was in the midst of World War II, and Churchill, as Prime Minister, was leading the country in its fight against Germany. Backstage at the Palladium Theater in New York City in 1978, Bob Marley, Mick Jagger, and Peter Tosh meet. Grace Kelly and Frank Sinatra pose together in 1956. The image captures two of the era's biggest pop culture icons, Grace Kelly, actress and Princess of Monaco, and Frank Sinatra, legendary singer and actor. A rear view of the Abraham Lincoln statue during Martin Luther King Jr.'s historic I Have a Dream speech on August 28, 1963, in Washington, D.C. Norma Jean Baker, who would later become world famous as Marilyn Monroe, is depicted at 15 years old in 1941. The photo captures the young girl before she became a pop culture icon. The photo shows cousins and monarchs Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, left, and King George V of the United Kingdom, right, photographed together in 1913 in Berlin, Germany. Charlie Chaplin is depicted in front of Federal Hall on Wall Street in 1918. The image captures the iconic actor and comedian during the 1910s when he was at the height of his silent film career. Sir David Attenborough is depicted hugging a bear cub named Benjamin in 1956. The image captures a tender, unique moment of Attenborough, who would become world famous for his wildlife documentaries. Queen Elizabeth examining the skeleton of Charles Byrne, known as the Irish Giant, who stood 7 feet 7 inches tall, in 1967 at the Royal College of Surgeons in London. Rosalind and Jimmy Carter in July 1946. They met while still young and married later that year, becoming one of the longest-lasting couples in United States political history. This photo was taken in 1937 in Norfolk, Virginia, United States. The image shows the old Norfolk City Hall, also known as the Slover Library Building. Albert Einstein visiting the Grand Canyon in 1931, as shown in this historic photo. The renowned physicist is observing the vast natural landscape surrounded by the canyon's grandeur. Lo Man Hung, a young photojournalist during the Vietnam War in 1968. He is capturing dramatic moments of the conflict, camera in hand, immersed in a war-torn landscape. Albert Einstein at 5 years old in 1884 in Munich, Germany. In this rare image, young Einstein is captured in a childhood moment, far from his future fame as a physicist. The illuminated tires developed by Goodyear in the early 1960s. These innovative tires had built-in lights, a futuristic idea then, for increased vehicle visibility, especially at night. The acoustic isolator invented in 1925 by Hugo Gernsback, a science fiction writer. The device was designed to help people focus on work by creating a completely silent environment, free from sound distractions. A fake village built over the Boeing factory in King County, Washington, around 1944 during World War II. This project was created as a security measure to deceive enemies and hamper air attacks. A primitive drone from the 1910s. The image captures one of the earliest experiments in unmanned aerial vehicles still in initial development, or is it just a pigeon? Tourists and their guides climbing the massive stones of an Egyptian pyramid around the late 19th century. The image captures a moment of exploration and adventure when tourism at historic sites like the pyramids was just gaining popularity. Children in a schoolyard learning to swim despite a lack of water access in 1922. 2 women using wooden treadmills in the 1920s. The women wear period exercise outfits with bathing dresses and caps as they balance on the primitive treadmills. An ancient Greek sarcophagus depicting an elderly dog with an embedded gemstone collar sitting on a bed. The dog appears to have turned its head toward an ancient road, watching passers-by with an expressive gaze. A young Norma Jean in 1946, a few months before she adopted the stage name Marilyn Monroe. At that time, Norma Jean Mortensen, still unknown, was beginning her journey in the entertainment industry. A boy sharing the news of Yuri Gagarin's spaceflight with a local pastor in the Soviet Union in 1961. Gagarin was the first human to travel into space, aboard Vostok 1 on April 12, 1961. A 1945 television set priced at $100. Back then, television was becoming more affordable, though it remained a luxury for many families. South Korean detectives in the 1960s. During that period, South Korea was rebuilding after the Korean War and facing significant security and stability challenges. Tokyo in 1960, before the skyscrapers that now dominate the skyline were built. Back then, Tokyo still had a lower, more traditional urban profile with mid-rise buildings in a compact setting. The construction of Liberty ships in 1941 during World War II. The Liberty ships were an urgent response to the Allies' need for large numbers of vessels for the war effort. The World Trade Center, with its iconic towers, likely in its early years of construction or at the start of its operation. In the foreground, there is a scene of poverty and neglect, with two people sitting beside boxes and trash. Women welders at the Brooklyn Navy Yard in 1944 during World War II. At that time, many women were recruited to work in factories and shipyards, taking on roles traditionally held by men. Three people pose for a photo wearing face masks during the second wave of the Spanish flu in California in 1918. The entrance to a subway station in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1969. The image reveals the era's urban infrastructure design, featuring architectural elements typical of the 1960s. A worker bottling ketchup at the original Heinz factory in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in 1897. The image depicts the early mass production of one of the United States' most iconic products. Sergeant Stubby, the most decorated dog of World War I, posing in his military uniform and medals around 1920. Stubby, a bull terrier, served with American troops during the war and was noted for his bravery. People collecting billiard balls in the 1920s. During that decade, billiards became a popular pastime in game halls and social clubs around the world. In the 1970s, workers in a Soviet factory were involved in the production of color televisions. The image captures a significant moment for the industry as demand for new electronic products began to rise. During the Apollo 17 mission in 1972, astronauts requested a piece of Velcro fabric be attached inside their lunar helmet so they could scratch their noses. In 1896, Henry Ford was photographed in the first car he built himself. This vehicle, known as the Ford Quadricycle, was a two-seat gasoline-powered prototype that marked the start of the automotive revolution. On Broadway in New York City, a woman places her order at a corner diner while a server hands her something through a window. In the background, a man walks down the street, completing the busy 1952 scene. A wooden railroad bridge of the Columbia and Nehalem Valley Railroad over McBride Creek, Montana, around 1905. The image captures a historic moment of the bridge's construction with a steam locomotive crossing the structure. Johnny Jr. sitting in the cockpit of a Marine O-1 military plane around 1963. The image captures a fighter pilot's moment, possibly during training or on a mission, with the aircraft in full operation. Customers eating herring in the traditional Dutch way in Rotterdam, the Netherlands in 1937. In Dutch culture, raw herring, often served with chopped onions, is a popular dish and traditional delicacy. father and his daughter in Sweden in 1916. At that time, Sweden was going through social and political changes as World War I impacted many European countries. The Queen Mother at 86 years old, enjoying a pint of bitter beer during a visit to the Queen's Head pub in Stepney in 1987. Known for her warm and down-to-earth personality, the Queen Mother was often seen in relaxed, informal moments. Supporters of the Republican and Democratic parties clashing with snowballs in front of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. in January 1921. Women surfers on the beach around the 1960s. During that era, surfing was becoming increasingly popular, especially in California, and women began to make their mark in a sport until then dominated by men. Behind the scenes of the first Miss Olympia competition in 1980. Miss Olympia, one of the largest women's bodybuilding contests, was founded to showcase female athletes who achieved extraordinary strength and muscle definition. Photographer Margaret Bourke White taking a photo from the top of the Chrysler Building in 1935. Bourke White was a pioneer in photojournalism, known for her dramatic and daring images, often captured from unique, challenging angles. Drew Barrymore and her grandfather's friend, Vincent Price, together in 1984. Barrymore, then a young actress, was already beginning to build her career, especially after her prominent role in E.T. the Extraterrestrial, 1982. A United States aviator and his girlfriend in Saigon, South Vietnam in 1971. During that time, the Vietnam War was in full swing, and many American soldiers were stationed in Vietnam. The Old City Hall and Courthouse of Norfolk, also known as the Slover Library, in Norfolk, Virginia, around 1937. The building, with its classical and imposing architecture, was a historic landmark in the city. A model of the USS Enterprise, one of the most iconic ships from the Star Trek television series. Since its creation, the USS Enterprise has become a symbol of space exploration and science fiction. An Italian wedding in Sicily around the 1960s. The image shows the bride and groom with their guests in a traditional celebratory moment, wearing period attire. Women learning to shoot at Roosevelt Island Prison in New York in 1932. During the Great Depression, prison living conditions began to be rethought with rehabilitation programs. The shooting competition at the 1912 Summer Olympics held in Stockholm, Sweden. Eric Karlberg, left, and Wilhelm Karlberg, right, competed in this event, which was one of the highlights of the Olympic Games. In the 1930s, London police tested life jackets by falling into the River Thames. The image shows the attempt to verify the safety equipment's effectiveness in emergency situations. Two women working as ice delivery carriers carry a large block of ice in September 1918. The image shows the physical effort required for this profession, common in the early 20th century when ice was used to preserve food. A Japanese couple taking a mirror selfie in the 1920s. The image captures an intimate and rare moment of a couple using a camera to record a moment of fun and spontaneity. Miss Finland, Miss France, and Miss Germany posed together for a photo in 1963. The three women, wearing elegant gowns, represent their nations in an international beauty contest. A promotional image of Jacksonville captured in the 1960s, showcasing the city's architecture and lifestyle of the era. The photo shows the downtown area with busy streets and buildings. Heinz Meixner in 1963 drives through Checkpoint Charlie to defect from East Germany. He is behind the wheel, symbolizing the escape of many trying to flee the East German communist regime. Positano Beach on the Amalfi Coast, Italy, in 1959, shows a breathtaking scene with clear waters and colorful houses clinging to the mountain. A girl walks with her rabbit, wearing a summer kimono in Shinagawa, Japan, in 1973. The image shows the tranquility and beauty of Japanese culture, with the girl and her pet enjoying an afternoon stroll. Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip's wedding cake being decorated. Weighing 500 pounds, 227 kilograms, and standing 9 feet, 2.7 meters tall. The impressive cake took 2 weeks to make. Police officers patrolling the New York City subway in the 1970s. The image shows the bustling atmosphere and security on the city's public transit, with officers watching passengers and maintaining order. Young people reading 3D comics at the Madison Square Boys Club in 1953. The image captures a scene of fun and entertainment, with the youths immersed in their reading, exploring the new three-dimensional comic format. Chris Farley, during his freshman year at Marquette University in 1982, depicted with the university's rugby team. The team's motto was, "We may lose the game, but we'll win the party." Bill Watterson, the creator of the famous comic strip Calvin and Hobbes, depicted in 1986. Watterson was responsible for creating one of the most beloved and influential comic strips in history, first published in 1985. Notorious B.I.G., also known as Biggie Smalls, depicted just after his kindergarten graduation in 1978. The photo shows young Christopher Wallace with a shy smile, a rare and personal moment from his childhood. Passengers boarding Pan American's new and improved Sikorsky S-40 in 1932. The S-40 was one of the first aircraft designed for international commercial flights, offering greater comfort and capacity. A 7-Eleven store in Hurst, Texas in 1959. At that time, 7-Eleven was solidifying its place as one of the first major convenience store chains in the United States. Bison bones to be used as fertilizer in 1870. During that period, excessive hunting of bison in the United States had driven the species to near extinction. Angus Barbieri, a 27-year-old Scotsman who fasted for 382 days in 1965, is a remarkable example of extreme fasting. During that time, Barbieri consumed only coffee, tea, electrolyte drinks, and vitamins, with no solid food intake. A motorcyclist from the Women's Royal Naval Service, WRNS, on duty in the early 1940s. The photo shows a woman in front of Buckingham Palace wearing the WRNS uniform, a helmet, and a backpack strapped to her bike. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.